With 10 stages of the Vuelta a España already covered, the riders are only about to get their first and very well-deserved rest day. And so it's time for us to talk through 5 things we've learnt from the first part of the last Grand Tour of the year. Etix's Quickstep came to Spain without a true podium placing contender, and they also left both of their sprinters at home, they being Marcel Kittel and Fernando Gaviria. However, despite that, they have yet again proven they can pretty much win with any of the riders on their team at some very big races. Gianni Meersman's taken 2 wins in sprints, and also his Spanish teammate David de la Cruz took stage 9, a mountainous stage, with enough time over the GC rivals behind to also go into the red jersey as leader of the race. That team's versatility really is quite incredible. No fewer than 7 former winners of the Tour de l'Avenir took the start line here in Spain around 10 days ago. And it's fair to say that the majority of them have had some pretty major success at World Tour level. Nairo Quintana and Esteban Chaves are the most prominent, but the latest to really make his mark is Ruben Fernandez of Spain and Movistar. He won the Tour de l'Avenir back in 2013 and of course plays second fiddle quite often, or even third, to the likes of Valverde and Quintana. However, he got the better of both of them on the steep finish of stage 3. Now, France will be hoping that this tradition continues into the future because they won the race, in fact, just a week or so ago, in the form of David Gaudet. Less than 3 years ago, OricaGreenEDGE, as they were known at the time, had little or no ambitions for the general classification of any stage race which featured any mountains. Oh, how times have changed though. Now they arguably have more options than pretty much any other World Tour team when it comes to the Grand Tours, in the form of Esteban Chaves and Adam and Simon Yates. Chaves, of course, made his mark here at the Vuelta last year, almost won the Giro d'Italia back in May and now sits 4th overall as we record this. Adam finished just off the podium at the Tour de France back in July. His brother Simon has now taken his maiden Grand Tour victory and sits in 8th overall. It feels like it's just a matter of time before the Australian squad win their first Grand Tour. Okay, the renaissance of Colombian cycling really is nothing new anymore, but the last 10 days have really reinforced just how much strength in depth and talent they have, especially when the road starts to tilt upwards. Darwin Atapuma of BMC spent a few days leading the race and therefore in the red jersey. Esteban Chaves, as we've already mentioned, sits in 4th place overall, and Nairo Quintana won stage 10 and now sits in a commanding lead at the top of the general classification, almost a minute to his closest rivals. My tip for success, should I say, Miguel Angel Lopez unfortunately succumbed to a couple of crashes and had to abandon the race. Otherwise, they probably would have had even more success. Now, Colombia have won both the Giro d'Italia and the Vuelta a España before, but they've never quite managed to do it at the Tour de France. But yet again, it feels like it's only a matter of time before that changes. With the increased specialisation and periodisation of riders and more prioritising going on with races throughout the year, many people have speculated that it's no longer possible to win back-to-back Grand Tours in the same year. However, the performances so far at this year's Vuelta seem to suggest that it might be possible again at some point in the future. No, Chris Froome is not quite the dominant person that he was back in July, but he seems to have almost enough to maybe just about take the win. Nairo Quintana, on the other hand, whilst he only finished 3rd back in July, certainly has proven so far that he's got what it takes to win. In fact, at this rest day after 10 days of racing, the first 3 on the general classification all performed very strongly in July. Now that brings to an end our 5 things we've learnt at the Vuelta so far, but don't worry, we've got lots more content for you. It's all in one handy playlist which you can find in the top corner just up there. On the other hand, if you are an Orica-Bike Exchange fan and you missed out on Matt's ride with them at the Giro d'Italia this year, you can find that in the bottom corner down there. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already. All you've got to do is click on the globe.